Hey guys, we're back with another episode of the On Season. As always, we're live with you guys on this Thursday night. Thanks everybody for joining us. Of course, we're always live on X and on YouTube, but make sure you come on over to YouTube, guys. Please hit that, smash that like and subscribe button. Help support us over here at the Fins Faithful Podcast and on the On Season. We appreciate it. Well, no, it's never a shortage of news here in Dolphins Nation. We're gonna get into the Tyreek Hill stuff, the dilemma I like to call it. Is it time to move on from Tyreek? But can they move on from Tyreek, or are they stuck with him? We're going to get into all that. Plus, it's the quarterback and tight end's turn. We're almost exactly 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. We're finally at the quarterbacks and tight ends, two positions I think the Dolphins could have some interest with in the middle rounds or even earlier than that, especially with the tight end position. Okay, as always, to help me do that, my partner in crime, Jason Sarney. Jason, how you doing this evening?
How you doing, George? Yeah, it's a little crazy in Dolphin land and kind of as per usual, status quo. But doing well. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we're 2 weeks from the draft.
Yeah, we're excited, man. It's time now where we wanted to get. We can't wait for it to start, but we're wrapping up the final. We're about 110 prospects in. We'll probably be over 120 when we get to the running backs next week. So we got you covered here. All right, let's start with the news that broke. Was it yesterday? Or I don't remember. Yesterday, right? Yeah. The Tyreek Hill stuff. Obviously, the police responded to an assault in progress. Yesterday, I read it in the show. I'm not going to go through it again, everything the report said, but it was an incident with him and his wife. There was a video out there of him holding the baby. Walk to the balcony. He didn't look like he was doing anything. He was like checking on something. But regardless, it's not good news. It's more negative news. He didn't get arrested. The case is closed. What really happened, I guess we'll never know. But some comments from his wife, Keita Hill, her mother was suggesting things haven't been good, and she's been afraid for her daughter. So, again, more negative energy in the public eye for Tyreek Hill and for the Dolphins. Jason, where does this end? Is it time to figure our way here to move on? I mean, your thoughts, because you didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday on the show.
To me, to kind of short of the long it, enough is enough. I don't know if 1 year is more than enough because of the contractual restraints and scenarios, but obviously, it's none of my business to go into the depth of what's in personal domestic situations. The no crime was committed. Can the NFL step in and still do something disciplinary? Yes, they can. Does his trade value get massively hurt because of this? Most likely. You can't do anything strategic like designate a post June 1st cut and still be within this year's draft. That would have to be to the 2026 draft. There's probably a very minuscule chance he could be traded prior to the draft or even during that draft weekend. But it's a conundrum. Enough is enough to me. This is not conducive of a successful franchise when they have not been consistently successful in the short term or the 25 years here. But enough's enough. It has to be.
No, I think you said it best. Well, enough's enough. Here's my take on it. I've always said they should have gotten rid of him last year. I could see this coming, not this exact scenario, but you could see when guys do this. I mean, look, you got to remember, Tyreek had problems coming out of college. This is why he fell in the draft. He had similar problems in college, domestic issues. It's a shame because, you hear Mike McDaniel at the owners meeting, right? Oh, I would love if they named him captain. That means Tyreek did all the right things. You would think after a guy who quit in his team last year would at least publicly, maybe not privately, but publicly, try to have good faith with the organization. It shows a lack of discipline and leadership from the head coach. His word obviously didn't get to the player. It's a lack of discipline in the organization that still goes on. I mean, you and I have heard things behind the scenes that it's not pretty. We're not going to get into them. It's, but I'm sure you've all heard it, or some of you. I'm at the point, Jason, and I'll bring up the chart of what it looks like to release him or trade him.
That's important. So definitely do that.
Yeah, I'll bring that up now. But I'm at the point for the better of the organization. And if Mike McDaniel wants to have a chance, he thinks he has a chance with Tyreek to win. If he brings Tyreek back this season, I think he's as good as gone. I think this situation will end in a disaster. I know it's going to be tough. I'll bring up the chart now, but I think almost for the organization, the culture, you got to find a way to move on. Let me bring up. I don't know if you got anything to say on that while I'm bringing up.
Bring up the chart, and I'll say that if it's in a perfect world and these numbers weren't as gaudy as they were and are prior to this incident, I would say go into this draft weekend with him as a chip. Not next weekend, the whole draft process. You're late in the first, you're early in the second, you're in day 2 somewhere, and maybe you could use it as an extra bargaining to get a pick or two or move up or do something while cutting your losses, obviously taking a dead cap hit if it is prior or on draft weekend, but at least you're paying for something that's potentially a heavy return in what you could draft again as a wide receiver. And this is a terrific class for it. So is that going to happen? Probably not. I'm talking a 1% to 5% chance. Tiny, but bring up the chart, and that's why. It's those numbers of cutting or releasing prior to June 1, and then what happens next year in the dead money ramifications.
Yeah, like pre-June, like releasing him tomorrow is not realistic. I mean, you look at the dead cap. Yeah, it's $56 million in dead cap money. I mean, it's unmovable, right? To me, the route here, the only route is not being released. I think trade, because the way they have it set up, I read it somewhere, the contract, a team can absorb some of that money. It's not as big of a hit on the Dolphins. Like the post-June 1st trade, you look at the dead cap, $12 million for 25, 15 for 26. A team can eat some of that money. But the question is, right, what is his trade value now? Right? Yeah, he didn't get arrested, but it's almost the same because you still have that perception. If perception is reality, another incident, what's the next one? A, you got to pay him. And B, you want to bring that stuff in your building? Now, it only takes one team, Jason. But, and there always is one team. I don't think you're going to get anything with 25 capital. I agree with Elwood Hodge in the chat. Thank you. So, thank everybody, Finn, Sammy, Jake, Fins TV, Beach, everybody in the chat. Thank you. I think it's something that will happen post-June, a post-June trade. Maybe things settle down. It's not so recent in everybody's mind, and you can get something, maybe a 3 next year or even a 4 next year. So be it, right?
It was in a Barry Jackson article and piece that he tweeted out that a general manager or an executive had said that the value might be a 2026 third, which could jump to a second conditionally.
I'm fine.
Which I'm fine. I mean, look, at this point, sometimes, again, like I said, if you're going to have to cut your losses and eat something, at least eat something wrapped in a little bit of a silver lining wrapping paper. You know what I mean? And that could be an extra pick or a pick in the future or whatever it is. So it's just a bad distraction in an already enough is enough environment of distractions and frankly, mediocrity at best.
Yeah, I mean, what do you said, what was it again? A third next year, you said, and
if it's going to the summer, if it's going to June 1 and post June 1, it would be probably a 2026 draft pick, which would be, let's say, a third conditionally on parameters of how he does and how many games he plays and his performance could move up to a second. But if it's a contender and it's a really good team like the Chiefs, all right, great. It's the 63rd, 64th pick. Big deal. That's not terrific.
Right.
It's good. But not terrific.
I'm fine with just about anything at this point because, like I said, in this notion that this team can't win without Tyreek Hill, let me put this in perspective. The league has caught up with this. The 2023 offense is over, right? The big 60, 70 point Denver game, those days are over. The league is caught up. They figured it out, right? And especially the upgrades or lack of upgrades we made to improve the offensive line and the running game are not there. What is Tyreek Hill? A gravity puller decoy? Yes, I respect the fact that without him, you're less of a threat. Your offense is less dangerous, but you got to reshape the offense anyways. I thought they needed to go in more of a reshaped direction regardless. And let's be honest, do you expect this team to compete this year? I think if healthy, at best, they're a team that can compete for a playoff spot. They're not Super Bowl contender with or without Tyreek, right? I can make an argument that the culture in the locker room changes and they're a better team. Because locker room culture and vibes in a locker room translate more than you think to winning teams. I mean, it's more, it's what we can't see, right? I think at all costs you have to move on from him for the organization's purpose. And if it's a giveaway post-June, Jason, if it's for a 5th-round pick, I don't care. I think it's an addition by subtraction. You want it, McDaniel, you want to set the tone in this locker room and change the locker room? Show you don't put up with this stuff. Don't just talk about it, be about it. And it'll show the other team, if the best player, we can get rid of the best player, the guy who, look, yes, Tua, there'll be more pressure on Tua without Tyreek. It'll be interesting to see Tua without Tyreek. But, hey, there's receivers in this draft. You draft one in the 2nd or 3rd round. Figure it out. Improve the running game. You don't need $50 million on the outside. And Jalen Waddle, I got news for you. It's time for you to step up and play like the 6th pick overall. It's time for you to take that role where you passed up Penny Sewell. You passed up Jamar Chase. We don't need duplicates of that position. Figure it out. Reshape the offense. Build the culture in the locker room. We're not kidding ourselves. It's a soft reset. You know what? You want to push it a little farther to a full reset? Okay. And let's compete for 26. There's still enough talent on this roster. You could win in 25 as long as Tua's healthy. That's my rant, Jason. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. We're ranting. Everybody's ranting. I mean, it's like
every drink.
A franchise cannot move forward when you're taking 2 steps backwards every 3 years with a new rebuild. And that's what's been happening in this decade. And now we're going to be on soft rebuild 3 after 2 failed hard rebuilds. One after the New England Patriots, one after the Niners. And now it's like scramble mode to see what you could kind of figure out in the wreckage. And listen, this is a draft with 10 draft picks now. All right. 7 in day 3. All right. So the top 3 picks could be at this point, and you're going to love this because we're doing a quarterback tight end show, and it's pretty much the second to last position groupings that we're doing. We have the running backs left. One of these guys that we are mentioning could be in their top 3 picks, and I don't think anybody will say boo if it's that position. Every position seems to be at their disposal right now because I don't want to use the term part of my friend's shit show, but that's where we're kind of headed, so all bets are off, I think, for the draft. And there's a lot of great wide receivers who are, in the top 3 or 4 that are going to go that could come on in and be a replacement to Tyreek Hill now. And it's not that crazy to think that could be an avenue that they try to get. So I don't know if he has a rabbit in the hat, Chris Greer, which I don't think he does. I think he's playing with desperate kind of last bits of his chips are falling, but this is such an important draft for the franchise.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's so important.
It's important.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Every draft's important, but like the franchise is at a weird crossroads coming up here.
Yeah.
Right? It's a weird situation. I don't exactly know their plan, to be honest. I don't know who's making final decisions. I don't know what Mike McDaniel's long-term status is. I don't know what the quarterback's long-term status is. The GM, I think he's the safest out of all, surprisingly. But let me ask you this now, quickly before we go on to the prospects. Does this make wide receiver in your head more of a priority here?
I mean, look, I've been doing, and you love mock drafting. We're doing the mock drafts on our show. We always have a wide receiver in the top 115 picks, it seems. So, there is. But I will tell you, I mean, we were doing the wide receiver show. There's 5, 6, 7 guys who, if it's the pick, look, if you're looking at the top 3 or 4, Ted McMillan, I mean, look, no one's going to say boo to that if they somehow get out of the Tyreek Hill situation kind of decently. You know what I mean? Because that could be Tet and Waddle, Malik Washington in the slot, bada bing, bada boom. This ain't bad.
And we talk about reshaping the offense.
Right.
That reshapes it. A big physical boundary wide receiver 1 type guy. Well, skill set. He's got to get in the NFL. We went over, guys, go check out that wide receiver show we had. We broke them all down. And there's Luther Burden. There's also
I was going to say Luther Burden's a guy who would be a junior version of Hill,
Matthew Golden would fill that speed need. And I've heard, and I wouldn't be surprised if Matthew Golden's wide receiver 1 in this draft. McMillan seems to be slipping a little bit. Again, that's the smoke. We'll see on draft night, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, my fears are stuck with him, Jason, based on here's another thing. What a mistake it was to restructure that contract. We wouldn't be in this situation, right? It wasn't a 3-year, $90 million. It was the more what they did is they put where you had guaranteed money this year, and it's hurting the team now. And the lack of foresight And again, the lack of leadership in the organization. These are bad decisions. Tua Tagovailoa not letting him play on the 5th year, bad decision. It's you got to wonder, who's making these decisions in the front office. But
I mean, retrospectively, hindsight 2020, horrible extension, not needed. And another wide receiver that I'll just mention, there's 2 of them. It's those Ohio State wide receivers, and Jaden Higgins, I think, is going to be drafted above. I changed my mind. They've both been kind of flip-flopping and spiking in value each way, but Higgins could be that Nico Collins kind of guy, power slot, can play the outside, is an outside receiver, could be a power slot. And Jalen Noel is a slot specialist who could do other things versatility-wise also. So if one of those guys are drafted, maybe in the 2nd round, all bets are off. And this is, again, a draft that if you do increase capital with trading back or doing anything to maybe pick up another pick in between that 2nd and 3rd rounder, that could be your replacement wide receiver. And it's in one of these guys that we're talking about, Isaiah Bond, Jalen Royals, Trey Harris, there's tons of names that you can put out there in the top 75, top 100.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Look, it'll be interesting to monitor. I don't think anything happens before June, but you never know. It just takes one team. But it's a shame, man.
One day we were all sitting somewhere and we were all shocked that they traded for Tyreek Hill. So.
True, good point.
You know what I mean? It was just a couple of years ago. All of a sudden, boom, Dolphins trade future for Tyreek Hill. But now here we are. So nothing is going to be shocking to me at this point. And I just hope that I just hope that it's not a straight release and there's nothing. That's my bet and hope. But
yeah, I agree with Jake. Yeah, well, a big body receiver is somebody I think they'll target in the draft, and you can never rule out speed.
Yeah, no, Jake, amen. I mean, look, if you're going to draft a receiver, I would love that prototypical outside X wide receiver. Jaden Higgins is my guy. I know Luther Burton is more of that small, speedster, yak specialist, but I like the bigger body.
Don't forget my sleeper, Isaac Tesla.
Isaac Tesla. Yeah, you know what? Hey, listen, day 3 or even late.
Yeah, one of those 4th round picks. He's in that zone. All right. Everybody who's watching anywhere else but YouTube, if you're watching on X, come on over to YouTube, please, guys. Smash that like, subscribe button, help support us. We're now going to get into the prospects. What do you say, Jason? We start with the QBs.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. We'll start off with the most polarizing position.
This is a position Dolphins could strike here in the middle of the rounds, right? Not maybe the first day. Depends. There's some interesting guys we'll talk about here. All right, let's start. Well, the obvious here, Cam Ward. Look, when he first came to UM, I didn't see him becoming the number 1 pick, right? When he came over from Washington State, I like him a lot, right? It looks like he's going to go 1. What I like about Cam Ward and watching him play, when the moment gets big, the game slows down for him. He's playing at his own speed. He's running. Doesn't look like he's moving fast, but he's getting yards. In the poise situations, the big game moments, he makes plays and it slows down. He's got quick release. I mean, looks like a shortstop turning a double play. Throws at different arm angles, great velocity on his balls, really good pre-snap, really good, what Tua lacks, the improvisational skills he's really good at. He sometimes wants to play hero ball, and you say, but I don't mind it as much because it's what I like about him, the no fear that he has in him. And I wouldn't bet against this kid. He's a leader, and he's a hard worker. He is behind the scenes. I know he had some character questions back in the day, but people around him tell you, look, this guy works hard. He's a leader. I wouldn't bet against him. And do I think he's going to be an elite NFL quarterback? Probably not. But I think he has a chance to be a really good one. And you know what? You can't fault the Titans probably for taking him number 1.
No, he's the number 1 pick. I mean, surefire. I like his leadership, his creativity. I love how he uses those different arm angles and he release points, different, touch points on the ball. But I love his creation of plays, what he can do. Got to obviously limit the mistakes, but he's the number 1 pick. He's going to be fun to watch mature and grow. I like the story too. I like going FCS, Washington State, over to Miami, and boom, number 1 pick. Love the rise.
We'll get to Elwood. We'll get to Tyler Warren when we get to. But you're not far off on your scouting report there. Okay, let's move on to the next guy. The controversial one, right? This is the one where people say, will he be on the board at 13? Look, Shador's a guy who I could see going anywhere from 2 to Cleveland to 21 to Pittsburgh. Like, I don't know exactly where it's going to go because there's so much smoke being thrown out there. You won't really know until draft night. Here's the thing about him. Of all the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, he's probably the best fit for the Dolphins. He somewhat plays similar to Tua. Throws with anticipation, throws with good accuracy and short and intermediate throws. I don't see him at the level of accuracy with Tua when I watch him on field, but he's close. He's got good placement with his ball. I like how he throws the receivers open. That's a big thing to set him up for after the catch. He processes the field well. I don't know what his superpower is, though. I don't know what he does at an elite level, right? And that's, to me, he's a late round 1 prospect for me, but he's going to get pushed up. Like, I would even say early 2nd round prospect. I know that's pushing it, but that's what I see. He doesn't have the biggest arm. I don't like the fact that he drifts back a lot in the pocket when I watch him instead of stepping up into it. But good quarterback prospect, would fit Mike McDaniel's offense. And you take him at 13, you're setting a bomb off in the building saying, we're not doing a soft reset. We're doing a hard reset.
I mean, listen, as a prospect, he's like a clean quarterback prospect who's been groomed and bred for the position, very accurate, obviously he's got those intangibles. Is he, like you said, what's that superpower? I like you saying that because he's not super duper athletic like a quarterback you'll talk about very soon. Yeah. But, it brings that craziness of what is Deion coming with them, and there's that X factor that is the only thing that you could use with a quarterback is that Deion Sanders X factor. Is it going to be a bomb where he's going to come on in like he did in Colorado, So I don't know. It's not for me. It's nothing against the quarterbacks, but to me, you have to build this team early elsewhere. I like quarterbacks. We'll talk about those guys later. But the first round, the first 13 picks, 2 quarterbacks are going to be off the board, and I don't think a third should be in that realm for the Dolphins. And but Sanders can be a fun player.
Not for me either. So you agree? I wouldn't take him easier at 13.
No, I
would entertain the trade.
Here's what I would entertain trade.
But I would think, wait, Jason, I don't think the trades are going to be as much as you think.
It's not going to happen though. Yeah, he's not going to drop that low.
He could, but if he does, that means he's not really as highly thought of as you think. And why would a team just let him slide? Like, you know what I mean? He could slide to Pittsburgh at 21.
Well, we've seen famous quarterback slides, like, all the way back to Aaron Rodgers. Like it happens for whatever reason. So I think that if there is the availability there, if you're savvy and you're the Dolphins and you can get a haul of picks and not moving so far back, if Pittsburgh does have to pay for the opportunity to move up, you can move back to, I believe they're 21. I don't think they have a second. I'm going off the memory here. They have a third, but it's a little out of my range.
Oh yeah, they don't have a second because we did that mock draft with Doug, and I wanted a second.
They have like they have like the 83rd.
We had horrible trade offers in that one.
That wasn't that great.
that was a strange one. All right.
Not for me at 13.
Yeah,
nothing against the player.
Same here. And not even because if we need a quarterback or not. I'm not in love with the prospect. You know what I mean? I think he could be solid. I just don't see anything special.
Right.
If that makes sense. All right. Jackson Dart, another guy rumored to be with the Dolphins here. Interested. Dolphins were a surprise, interesting team. I think we touched on that last week on the show. All right. Here's the thing about Dart. I see this top 10 stuff. Second quarterback taken. He's not a round 1 player for me. I don't care what the mock draft says. I don't care. I don't see him as a round 1. I see him as a round 2 developmental quarterback. Okay. A guy who's a very good leader. From all regards, very good leader, and I like that. I think he throws from different angles. I think he's a good athlete. I think he throws with touch. But I think he improved. Like, he went to USC his first year, transferred, went to Ole Miss. Now Lane Kiffin offense really elevated him, right? He had a big spike offensive numbers this last year. Part of the reason why I don't like him as much is because that West Coast RPO system kind of is a one-read system. And I don't know what his ability is to process after that one read. And another thing that I didn't like, when I went through him, I saw the difference. When he played just like average competition versus the big power teams, his play dropped significantly. Okay, that could be the talent around him too. But Ole Miss, they got players on that offense, and his accuracy really drops when things get crazy and he's under pressure. So some red flags, not a guy you can play right away. Okay, there's ability there. There's some quick quick throwing talent, quick release, throws with good touch, good athlete, but don't bring him right away to play. I see him a round 2 developmental quarterback. I wouldn't touch this guy in round 1.
Yeah, again, for me, nothing against the player.
Jonathan disagrees.
I mean, look.
Shout out to Jonathan.
I wouldn't bet against him in the first round. I mean, that doesn't mean that he's a first round.
No, I think he'll go in the first round.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, look, if you look at the recent quarterback developmental problems of first round quarterbacks, I mean, even look back at 2021 and the Trevor Lawrence stretch. He's the only one on the team, and all those other quarterbacks are on their third team, Zach Wilson included, for the Dolphins now. So, does a team have to go all the way up and trade assets to just draft a quarterback in the first round? I think it's a waste. Does a team like the Dolphins, who already has Tua on a contract, draft a guy in the first round? I don't think so. But again, nothing against Dart. He could be a fun Brett Favre-like player to watch, gunslinger, live arm. You know what I mean? Former baseball player, so he's got that zip. I just, to me, as much as he is a dual threat, as much as he knows that RPO, it's not for me. For the Dolphins, it's just not for me right now. Look, in second round, that might be a different story.
So you agree with me? He go in the first round, but you view him like I do as a second round prospect, or you like him in that for round 1?
When I'll answer it this way. I'm sorry to go around the question. When we first started this whole draft process, I kind of flipped the page over, to like day 2, day 3 quarterbacks, knowing that these first 4 guys are just not for the Dolphins this year. You know what I mean? I just don't think that they're, or they should be in that market, or else it's going to create a nuclear bomb on an already gas fire.
I'll say this: he is tough in the pocket, though.
Listen.
But he's an NFL offense, so that Lane Kiffin offense is a one-read RPO kind of offense. Can he pick that up? There's ability there. Don't get me wrong. He makes some throws, and you're like, wow, okay, I see it. But not somebody. He's a developmental guy. He plays early, you're in trouble. Right? It won't be good for him. He needs to go in the right situation. That's another thing.
Right. If you're a team that could afford putting him into a backup situation, clipboard scenario, learn, educate himself, year 2, gets in there. That's happened and worked for teams and players before.
Don't worry, Jonathan. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, he's a big shout out to Jonathan. He came on the show when the whole Richmond Webb thing went down. So he was on the show.
Jonathan's great dude, great Twitter.
Yeah, shout out everybody in the chat. We appreciate it, guys. If you're watching on X, come on over to YouTube, please. If you like your content, come over, hit that like, subscribe button. All right, let's move on.
This is all you, I think.
Okay, I got to get to them.
No,
not yet. No, don't get me excited. Okay. I like him too, though. I like him too. No, I actually probably should have switched them here. Tyler Shuck, he's interesting. Okay. He's been in the league, in the league, 7 years. Get this. He backed up at one point Justin Herbert in college. He was in the same recruiting class as Trevor Lawrence. Okay? Now, he was highly recruited coming out of high school. He looks like an NFL quarterback, Jason.
Yeah.
I mean, looks like one. He's going to be 26 at the end of this year. So he's been in college a long time. NFL size, arm, good athlete, ran 4.63 at the combine for a 6'5" quarterback, can throw in tight windows, can process the field. When you watch him, you're like, wow, this guy's impressive. He looks like an NFL quarterback. Now, the age,
25.
Tremendous injury histories against him.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me, you remember Brandon Whedon?
Oh, yeah, FSU. Right?
Yeah,
no, I'm thinking of, that's Winky, right?
Yeah, Brandon Whedon. Yeah, Brandon Whedon. I just said Brandon Whedon.
Brandon Whedon was Oklahoma. Right? Oklahoma State, something like that.
Jonathan, maybe you can help me in the chat where Brandon Whedon went. But like Brandon Whedon, that older prospect, but at all the physical traits, Cleveland drafted him. This guy's, I think, a better athlete. Oklahoma State. Thank you, Jonathan. Lost in
there you go. Chris Winky back in the day.
Yeah, Chris Winky. But Winky was 28.
Yeah, geez, right.
But anyways,
that's what
he looks like. He looks like an NFL quarterback, Jason.
I mean, he's a guy who's in play, but it's a kind of a career special with the injury history, the age, 25-year quarterback rookie. But it puts kind of a smile on your face knowing that he also is the backup or was the backup to Herbert. But yeah, pure pocket passing quarterback who could have a live long ball arm. So flyer in day 3, amazing. Day 2, a little early.
Yeah. I heard he's moving up. It's very hard to determine. It's hard to evaluate quarterbacks. There's not many on this planet that know how to really truly evaluate a quarterback like Andy Reid. Or I would say coach one. Like it's the toughest position to evaluate by far. I don't know if you would agree. Because I how many players I watch, how much it's very difficult to evaluate quarterbacks because the transition in the elevator from college to pro is such a difference.
It is. It is, and with the increase in competition. I mean, look, save the SEC, yeah, obviously the Power Five, but like overall, the increase of competition, the amount of study, and in between the ears, talent, and smarts you have to play the position in the pros, it shows in some intangibles why these guys aren't making it that are first round busts. That it takes their second or third or fourth team to get it. So Chuck is a guy who is in play. 115 on for the Dolphins. I think he should still be there.
Yeah, I don't. He might. He could go earlier than that, though. He's one of these guys. But yeah, I think 98 is where you start the quarterback discussion for the Dolphins.
That's fair. That's
I think totally pick fair. 98 is where we.
At this point, that's fair. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So another thing I like about what sold me on him, that University of Miami tape against Miami. I think he had like. What do you have? Like 340 yards for some crazy number. He played really well. That really turned me on to him at first, but quarterbacks play when at 50. It's true. I'm less worried about the age now, but especially if he's a pocket passer, he's got athleticism, but that's not his first kind of like a Hurts or a Jackson. Players that didn't excel when college comes in. And just to become okay. I mean, players that didn't excel well in college come to the NFL and have better success versus players who had success in college and yeah, it's true. Some guys are better pros than they are college players. It's a great point, Jonathan. All right, am I getting this guy? All right, let me. Okay, guy. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from some people on this, and when I love a player, I move to the mic. It's not that I love him as a quarterback finished product right now. My analogy, what I said before. I look at this as a scratch-off lottery ticket. If the percentage is small, you've hit a home run because he drips with electric physical traits. And not many quarterbacks have that. And it's something we don't have. And what we get beat in January, December with the Allens, the Mahomes, the Jacksons. These guys drip with traits. The physicality he brings to the position. He's an explosive athlete. I mean, he is a devastating run threat. He had 20 rushing touchdowns last year. I believe 33, 34 in his career. Big arm. I mean, even for NFL standards, the arm is big. Like he's in the upper echelon of arm strength and velocity in the NFL today. Okay. Is he a finished product? Absolutely not. Is there a high chance he busts? Big chance. But when is the last time we took a quarterback with physical talent that if you hit, develop him, and your head coach is supposed to be a quarterback guru? Does he have erratic accuracy? Absolutely. Does he read one side of the field only? Absolutely. Does he have trouble processing? Absolutely. But if you coach that up, I mean, I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, but Josh Allen had a lot of these issues in the beginning of his career, more with accuracy. But I think he's obviously a better prospect coming out. I think Josh Allen was a better prospect coming out. But if the percentage is small, Jason, I want to take a shot. And I think he's going to go in the first round possibly. So the best case you have to do it at 48 if he slides. And I know it's a tough question. Would you do it? Man, I could talk myself into it. I know you wouldn't do it, but I could talk myself into it. Because are we resetting or are we not? Like, are we just going to build needs to do what? Win 9 games? Like, where are we at?
That's a whole other question to talk about because the optimist in me wants to say, give Tua everything he needs this draft, fill in holes, and let's hope that everything works out. But fool me once, fool me twice, fool me a third time. I can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? So this could be a complete rebuild with a quarterback of these top 4 or 5 guys in play at 48. But I think you'll have to maybe move up for Milroe. If he's sitting there at 31-32, early day 2, does a team move up to try to get him? Does the Dolphins do that?
Oh. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't hate it.
You know what? Fine. I'd be surprised too. But would I hate getting a guy like that? Let's see what
is it. But Jason, wouldn't you be excited to see the potential of a kid like this? What you could do with him? When have we had that?
What would make me happier I'll tell you what would make me happy.
All right, let's hear Jason's.
What would make me very happy, and we're going to get to 2 or 3 guys that fit into this world. They have a dynamite draft. They draft a quarterback, number 3 on the roster. Zach Wilson's the backup, or maybe loses the backup to the rookie, or whatever happens. Tua is fine, and if Tua does go out for X amount of games, one of those quarterbacks just fills in and is able to win a game or 2 or not lose 3 games, And if Tua gets back, maybe there's a talent enough to scratch around the playoff potential if everyone stays relatively healthy. That's the optimist in me. And then you could cut bait with Tua. You'll lose Zach Wilson. Either way, you'll have that guy on your roster who could be the future in a year or 2, and then you extend him if Tua is not the guy. I want to get 3 quarterbacks in the room. If you get a guy who's going to compete with Tua right away, like these top 3 or 4, you're detrimenting your other positions on the field too heavily, I think. And you might have to.
Okay, but are we competing for a Super Bowl this year?
Listen, every team, no matter what they say, is trying to compete for a Super Bowl in the NFL.
I just don't understand. But based on what they've done, unless they have a home run draft and sign some guys after free agency and everybody stays healthy, it's a lot of ifs. Again, they can compete for a playoff spot healthy. I don't doubt that. I'm just saying you got to start. I know who you want. Right, we'll get to him in a minute. I know who you want at quarterback, but I just want somebody that looks like this at the position.
It's like you've seen what works. Yeah. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts, that power, that dual threat ability. What can Mike McDaniel do with a legitimate run threat? Not Tyler Huntley. He's a okay run threat. He's not. This guy is literally a running back. Now he's going to take time. He's going to need time. Sure.
He's by far. I mean, there's 10 passers better than him right now. In this, he's not a finished product, but the traits are top notch. And so I call it a lottery ticket. That's what these draft picks are. That's what Jimmy Johnson wanted to do. He wanted multiple picks in every round because it increases his odds of landing one. All right.
I hope that if there's ever a Jimmy Johnson strategy, it's this type of draft where 10 picks becomes 12.
Yeah.
And you have obviously more opportunity to screw up, but more opportunity to get a winner. Get winners. You need 4 or 5 of them right away.
Yeah, right away. Point. Good point, Beach. Is Coach McDaniel really? We'll find out with Zach Wilson too, right?
Right.
All right, moving on to the next guy. All right, Jason. I'll let you have it. Go ahead.
Listen, this is the perfect guy in the perfect scenario to come on in. He's intelligent, absolute lightning release, good pocket passer. Can he be, mobile when he needs to and make a play? Absolutely. Got to limit some mistakes, but he's got a big arm, smart, intelligent, cerebral kind of guy. If you can get him on in, maybe compete with Wilson and have him win that backup role, I would love to see what he does, with the Dolphin offense, where it's really what McDaniel asks for, but as just a better pocket passer, I think. So I think he would be phenomenal at 115. I was drafting him in day 3 and every mock draft.
That's the thing, though.
He's shooting up.
Yeah, you might have to take him at 98,
You know what? Again, if we really are
talking about this. Is that too rich for you? Is that too – is quarterback – it all depends on trade, right? When we trade back at 13, we pick 60, things change for me then, right?
I'm a believer in go up and get your guy if you really have the conviction. If he's picked at 98, the Dolphins are freaking in love with him, and he could be the 2026, 2027 starter. You know what I mean? But if you land him in day 3, that's like the magic word. If you land him day 3, I think that's a home run for the Dolphins with so much potential.
Yeah, I agree. He'd be one of my favorite targets in that day. In that day 3 range. He's got great mechanics.
I know he played in Syracuse in a dome, but he's a Northeast kid. He played at Ohio State. He can play in the cold.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't just say, he played in the dome. Yeah, not.
Well, you got to admit,
kid.
He transferred out from Ohio State. He went to
New Jersey
Syracuse, and the guy we're going to talk about next is the one that took over for him. He was inconsistent at Ohio State, but this guy, he broke Deshaun Watson's ACC single season records. You watch him throw the ball. Sometimes you look at it like Tua, the way where he places the ball. It's unbelievable, the ball placement there. I know McDaniel loves this guy, right? Like he's out of all the day 3 quarterbacks, he fits the most. His short and intermediate accuracy. Look, he doesn't have great velocity on his ball, right? And he's not going to be this He's not a running threat. He's none of that. And the one thing I did see, though, is he locks on that first read a lot. But I like a lot more of what he does, and I'm not as worried about it in this offense, but his anticipatory skills.
For some reason, I get a Chad Pennington vibe. I don't know why. I just get like a Pennington vibe. Cerebral, intelligent, knows what he's doing.
I actually don't mind that, Jason.
And I love me some Chad Pennington just from his magical year with the Dolphins.
I like the tape versus UM. A couple of these guys, I like this tape versus UM. So a lot of these guys I watch versus Miami and because of the ACC play. And, again, his anticipatory throwing skills are reminiscent of when you watch Tua, how he throws to a spot. He fits this offense. I think he's young. I think he's 20 or 21 years old. He's been rising up boards. I'm like, would I be surprised if day 3 he's a Miami Dolphin? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Bigger arm than Pennington, of course, I would say.
Oh yeah. Especially
I like a cerebral, heady quarterback, gets the ball out like this offense calls for and just knows what he's doing. Knows how to command, knows how to be a leader in the huddle. That's him.
All right. Let's move on here, guys. If anything, thanks for joining us on YouTube. Hit that smash that like and subscribe button. If you're watching anywhere else, come on over to YouTube. It really helps us out over here. All right. Will Howard, the guy who took over for Kyle McCord at Ohio State. You can jump on here with Will Howard, the K-State transfer.
Winner, championship caliber quarterback, obviously, big gamer, dual threat. Someone was tweeting that he's like a Josh Allen type player. And I mean, kind of sort of with the physicality, the ability to do both things well. Intriguing prospect. Definitely intriguing prospect. Good arm, good size. Good speed.
I love the size. Size, not only height, but mass, right? And the one thing I watched when I watched him, he's got some mobility for a big guy. Like, you don't think of it, because he's not like, for example, we say Shuck is NFL size. He's 219 at 6'5". This guy's almost 240 at 6'4". A little bit older prospect, but he's got sneaky mobility, man. He can make the throws. And the one thing I like,
great tackles too. He's not easy to bring down.
Yeah, you know what I like about him too is that the big games, like you mentioned, the postseason versus the Rose Bowl versus Oregon, I think, and then the championship game, 13 straight complete. He steps up in the big moments, and he's a guy who's kept improving every year, and I like the size. Round 3, round 4 again for me, right? Like,
look, that's it.
It's hard to predict where these guys, because each team loves quarterbacks differently. But like these guys we're talking about in this range are late day 2, early day 3 guys. You would agree. What a comp I saw of him? I wouldn't go Josh Jacobs, but I liked a little bit was Blake Bortles.
I mean,
like the good
from
version
college, the good version, right?
I mean, Blake Bortles was the top. What was it? Jacksonville took him. I remember that draft when they sneaked up and took.
It
was cool. I think it was 3.
Was 3?
Yeah, I think so. Anybody in the chat, let us know where Blake Bortles got drafted. All right. I tried to like this guy. I've tried.
Go ahead.
Guys, I've tried.
I've
tried, and look, I know why McDaniel likes him. McDaniel seems to like him. That's the reports. We've had him in for a top 30 visit. He was a number 1 high school recruit coming out of high school. We've heard this name for a few years now. Last year, everybody thought he was going to be, a top 5 pick. I never saw that from him. Another thing is, a year in advance, when this guy's a top 5 pick, that's all nonsense. You got to let the season play out. You'll find out as it gets closer what really his range is. 10 to Jacksonville. Jonathan, I thought it was earlier than that. I'll have to look it up, but I thought he went to like 3 or 5.
It was in the like right in the top 10, obviously, but like I would have been shocked if it was in the top 3.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat can look that up, it would be great. Where were we on? Oh, Quinn Ewers. And I see the natural throwing ability, the arm. I see it at times, but he really, really has trouble processing the field. His decision making sometimes is horrific. Now, what he's really good at, and this is the first thing that jumps, his ability, his ball fakes, his ball handling, he creates open. It's really good. And he's really nifty in short areas of the pocket. I like that. But he predetermines his targets too much. I know why McDaniel probably likes him, because he throws, he's got arm talent. He throws in arm angles. But I couldn't get myself there, Jason. I couldn't.
You like the quick release, gets it out like in 2.5 seconds in that kind of range you like, but not the quarterback for me. Nothing against him. Just I like guys a little bit better.
Yeah. So, all right. Moving on to Quinn Ewers, your Miami Dolphins.
Oh, you're right. He was third. Holy shoot.
Yeah, well, I got a good memory.
Wait, that's it. Blaine Gabbert was that's it.
Blaine Gabbert. Yeah,
I mixed
Gabbert was 10. All right. All right. Let's move on to Dillon Gabriel. Can you start? Because I can't even entertain picking him. So I'll let you start. I can't entertain you, Jason.
It's similar, better
athlete. Tua light. I call it Tua light.
Tua light. Better athlete, lefty, same kind of height. It's the same thing. You're doing the same thing. You're having a carbon copy, basically, of your current situation. So I think it's funny if they do that, but I don't think that's the way to go, frankly, for the Dolphins.
No, I mean,
another 25.
I mean, he broke Tua's high school records in Hawaii. He's left-handed. He's short.
I got a hashtag. Bearded. What up, Manny?
Sorry. I love Jason. Loves everybody. Jason loves everybody. He loves everybody.
Start off.
Shout out to Bearded. Thank you for the sub. We appreciate that. Bearded fanatic. Much love. Yeah. So short, left-handed, really undersized quarterback who's Hawaiian. Sound familiar? Look, he's got some good placement and accuracy. He's a timing and rhythm passer. It's a lot like Tua. He's a better athlete than Tua. He's a little bit better outside the pocket than Tua. He's got a ton of experience in college as a passer. The arm is average to below average. I don't want to entertain this. The only positive I can see is you got something like this in the building, similar to your starter. So he's a left-handed quarterback. Receivers don't have to get used to that again. He's similar stature to Tua. But where do you see 4th, 5th round? Would you do it? I can't.
It's like most of he played basically essentially out of the shotgun his whole career. There'd have to be some sort of there's a gap. There's like I
have a hard. Fifth
round. Not my type of prospect for this type of team for this type of situation, but under the right fit, he could succeed as a backup who could maybe get into an eventual starting position, but not for me for the Dolphins.
Yeah. I just don't
already have the same
for another team. Maybe I just don't want the same thing. Definitely. And obviously he's not as good of an accurate passer as Tua. He's not as good of a prospect as Tua coming out, but there's a lot of similarities. If Tua light is the best way I think I could put it, right?
With a little bit more of that ability to tuck and want for him to kind of tuck it and run, but you don't want to see Tua doing that. But Gabriel's the kind of guy who could do that a little bit more. But
so Dolphins, we think possibly they draft a quarterback here before we move on to the tight ends round, starting in 98, between 98 and anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round, or even 6th round. Is that the area late day 2? Possibly.
They're out of the 6th. They're out of the 6th. So if you get past the 5th, either you're just undrafted free agent. You just pick it an undrafted, But like you said, once round 3 hits, you never know.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the tight ends.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, before we start, I like to give my educational. I'm going to be saying a lot of F or Y tight end, what that kind of means. First of all, the Y tight end is often considered, he's like the traditional tight end, right? Who lines up on the line of scrimmage next to the tackle. He's usually, the primary blocking, receiving target. Who's our Y tight end that was last year? Was it Durham Smythe, right? Julian Hill. But obviously there's Y tight ends with more potential that are also the great ones are also pass catching threats. But like our Y tight end, but they usually line up on the line of scrimmage. They're the blockers. Those are the inline tight ends. And you have the F tight ends, the more modern ones.
Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith. They line up various positions, the slot, fullback, split out. They're versatile. Their ability to move around in the formation. They can be used as a receiver, blocker, hybrid, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes they call it the H-back, right? And it's a mismatch nightmare for the defense. That's the X, tight tight end. They're more versatile than Jonas Smith's of the world. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a kind of rundown of that. All right, let's start at the top here. Tyler Warren. Do you want to start with Tyler? Or you want me to go?
Starting off with Tyler, he's obviously the best in the class. I pray he does not go 7 to the Jets. He is obviously the best playmaking tight end in the draft. He's a high school quarterback. He can do anything in any area of the field. Like you said, he's a good enough blocker where he could be a fine inline blocking tight end, but he's so much more than that. He could play a fullback and run and block from that position. He could just do anything after the catch. He's a tough kid. He's a surefire. Listen, I know people would love this kid at 13, and I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I am going to put money on that. I don't think he gets past the Jets. He certainly is a top 10 pick to me.
Yeah, I hope the Jets take him.
I mean, if you look what
I hope the Jets take him. That drops another guy to us.
If you look what Bowers did last year, I mean, teams are going to like to want to repeat hit. And like, oh my God, this guy could be our Bowers, but maybe better. So I'm going to spend my 7th overall pick. The Jets, I'll tell you, that would scare me.
Yeah, that would scare me. So he's funny. Like, the thing that stands out is the Wildcat stuff. The way they use him out of the backfield. They give him the ball in short yardage situations. He'd feel a lot of needs for the Dolphins offense. He'd actually make a big impact on the Dolphins offense with his versatility. You mentioned former high school quarterback. He's real tough, man. Tough to bring down. Really strong hands. And one thing you want from your tight end is to be able to find that hole in the zone in the coverage. He's really adept at doing that. He's an offensive weapon. I don't think he's Brock Bowers level prospect. I like him. I like the second guy as much as Warren. It's very close. Not as much as people may think. But yeah, I wouldn't do it at 13. I hope he goes in front of us at 13. But yeah, he's an offensive weapon. You can do a lot of things with him in H-back, in line, in the backfield as a runner, in short yardage. Like, he's got that kind of physicality and toughness.
In a different world, if this team was not suffering what they're suffering, and there could have been a luxury pick at 13, like a guy away, we're a guy away.
Yes.
I don't think we're a guy away here. You know what I mean?
No, we're more than a guy away.
Yeah, right. Definitely. So if this team, if the world went a little differently, this would have been a hell of a year for this. But I still am adamant. I do not think he's going to get past the top 10.
Shout out, Jake. No problem. Enjoy your dinner, Jake. No problem. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jake, as always.
Take care. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Octane, what's up? Me too. Amen.
I would actually be really shocked.
You're a big fan. You want this. You be a big fan of this at 13.
No. Okay. Accepting of it, absolutely. Understanding it, absolutely. Very curious to see how they'd fill, in my opinion, the more important needs at the moment. But to be continued.
Make a case for him,
it's an exciting pick.
Yeah. To make a case for him, he fills a lot of what the Dolphins lack on offense.
I would not throw up my hands in disgust like a lot of first-round picks I've done in the past. Trust me, folks, I'm not all sunshine and rainbows with first-round draft picks in the last 2 decades, 3 decades. You know what I'm saying? But
he does what it takes to.
This wouldn't get me upset.
And he does what it takes.
Wouldn't be upset.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if he's there.
When I watched him, I didn't see a Bowers level prospect, but I saw a really good tight end who does a lot of things. He's versatile. It's crazy the Wildcat stuff he does, man. So he would create a lot of voids at the Dolphins. He would change the Dolphins offense a lot because of the multiple things he can do, and he'd help out in some of the weakness, short yardage, obviously in line. Again, good enough blocker to play in line, play on the outside. He wins at the point catch point. He's a good prospect. I like the next guy just as much. Anything else on Warren? We jump on to.
Everyone loves him. There's every reason in the world to love him. I think he's a absolute complete player. But again, I'm putting him on the Jets in every mock draft that I do from now until the 24th.
You think? Yeah, I've heard some Jets stuff with him. You think they could use him? I mean, he'd be perfect for Justin Fields.
The Jets organization, I think, needs elation from their pick. And I don't think an offensive guard or a tackle will do that. Yeah. And I don't think they're going to have Shedeur Sanders. I think he gets picked before him. I think they're going to go with Tyler Warren.
Yeah, and I think, too, if you look at it with Justin Fields, he's a quarterback. He's a quarterback's best friend. So you have him with Garrett Wilson. I mean, the running back situation with Brees.
I don't want it. but I see it.
I'm not as scared of you. I'm taking him. Because that means he drops another player at a position now. I think a really good play. That's a Will Johnson less team for us at their team. But all right. All right, so I'll go with Loveland.
Yeah, go ahead.
So again, situations when you hear about players, you watch players randomly, then when you watch tape about players. I think he's an ascending player. He's big, and his frame can still grow, but he is a big wide receiver, basically. His route running, his timing on his routes, his ability to sink his hips for tight end and come back to the ball, change the direction skills. He's probably the best natural receiving tight end in this draft. And I'll tell you what surprised me too when I watched him was the run blocking. His grip strength with his hand strength to hold on to the ends and linebackers was impressive. I think he can be somebody you can put in line, but he's versatile. Can be a movement tight end in the slot, put him on the outside, put him in the inside. He's 6'6", 248. And he's going to add more muscle. What are your thoughts on Colston Loveland out of Michigan?
He'll make his money as, like you said, a big receiver, slot tight end. He's definitely not that prototypical aggressive run blocking tight end that's going to help out on every aspect of the rushing and run blocking. But love his ability as a receiver, a big tight end, big receiver. Maybe like 23, 24. That's his kind of area.
Yeah, he could even go a little higher than that. Yeah, but I would say his sweet spot 15 to 25, something like that. I mean,
like a contending team, a good contending team, adding a little bit of a piece. This would be a good pick for them.
He's a good enough receiver to be a focal point of your offense. Like he's that good of receiving tight end. All right, big fan of his. Moving on. Oh, okay. So this is the one where it's obvious, right? We met with him. Mason is obviously the bloodlines, JT's kid, Zach's nephew. You want to start with Mason, Jason?
He's a good blocking tight end who needs to refine that ability. I wouldn't advertise him as a blocking tight end. Of course, he is a receiver tight end with a great catch radius. He's got phenomenal big play ability. And look, sometimes you could joke about the bloodlines and DNA, but you understand Jason Taylor and why he's a Hall of Famer and why he was as great as he was. You understand how great Zach Thomas was and why. The pedigree, the training, the ability to do the job, it's already what you're getting when it walks in the room. And as a player, he's going to make his own. I just love that he's on the offensive side of the ball. Wouldn't it be so funny if he was a defensive end or a linebacker? You know what I mean? Like, no. He's flipping it. So he has an opportunity to kind of learn from the greats who are in family his whole life on how to block and read a defense, sit in the zone, which he does well. He will make phenomenal plays at the pro level, showed out with his straight line speed. He really put together a phenomenal 40 with some scouts clocking him at 4.59.
Yeah, I put it conservatively.
You know what? Everyone who initially put that unofficial timeout gasped, sub 4.6. And if you have that with his ability to catch the ball, soft hands, big red zone threat, yards after the catch guy, and I guarantee you from day one in the NFL to maybe getting through that year and a half into the league, his blocking skills will be vastly improved, and it's not a bad foundation to start.
I agree. The one thing I wrote down when I watched is this is one guy who has 3-down potential. I think
refine those skills blocking.
The 28 bench reps he had showed me. Yeah. Like you don't come from Zach and JT, you're not strong, right? That showed you everything. And like he's one of these prospects who can be that 3-down inline block guy who can block, but is also a weapon in the pass game. I think he's right up there. He's one of the few. I think he has the potential. He is so good, and he beats zone coverages all day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So and he's a 68% of his catches went for first downs.
Yes, indeed. That's a great stat. I mean, from a tight end, from a guy you want to catch the ball and already pretty much having that first down ability, he'll do that. He'll get you yards after the catch too. And I think he's just like a year and a half, 2 years away from being a complete
he's an ascending player. Like he's 100%. Not his best football is not ahead, right? His best football, is ahead. All right. But man, we got to work on the technique and all that stuff, like you said. The one thing is like he doesn't have like he always looks like he's running at one speed though. What I noticed, like he does. I'm waiting for that extra gear, but he's plenty fast. But he's very smooth too, and that's probably why I don't see that second gear because he's also a deceiving runner. He's very smooth and fluid in his routes. I like the potential here. Forget about what his name is. If his name was Joe Smith, I'd still like him, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The Dolphins can't draft him because his name is Jason Taylor's son and Zach. I mean, it's a great story. Now, he's a guy at 48. I think they have a hard time passing up if he makes it there.
I'll tell you that. You're absolutely right. And I'll give you a little bit of a scared story or a horrible potential scenario, too. Yeah. If the Jets happen to pass on Ty Warren, they sit at 42. The Patriots sit at 36, I believe, or 38 or something like that. I think that if once you get to 33, 34, it's in play because it might be tight end 3 or 4, and someone could value him right after the top 2 that we just spoke about. I would be absolutely horrified if he ends up a Jet. We've seen a Taylor on the Jets before, so I pray that does not happen again. I just that would
I mean, he's been a riser. I think it's 50-50 if he's there at 48. I think it's 50-50. Or do you think he doesn't make it there?
I feel like I feel like there's a world that he's gone at 35. Well, I mean, look,
I agree. I think there's a world
the Raiders aren't going to pick him at 37. So trade up with the Raiders.
I think there's a world he's gone at 35, and I think there's a world he's there at 50. You know what I mean?
It would be
remember it's a tight end.
I think.
But here's the other thing with tight ends. They usually go. There's a run usually early in that 30s with tight ends. So that's another thing. We might be left out, and we might have to be looking at some of these other guys we're going to get to next year. Elijah Arroyo. He's interesting, Jason. I'll start with him.
Please do, yeah.
He's a vertical threat. He's one of the more vertical, and I was hoping to see him run, Jason, because I wanted to see what his speed was and matched on tape. Like he separates from guys. And you don't realize he's that fast. He killed the Senior Bowl week. He was tearing guys up in the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
His catch radius, his route running, and again separation after the that he creates separation. He's a real vertical seam threat. One of the probably top 2 or 3 vertical seam threat tight ends in this class for me. And he's a willing blocker, big size. He's had injury histories. We all know that. We followed him down here. The injury history, all these guys are former basketball players, these tight ends. Point of the tap, play strength needs to improve. So that's fine. He gets in the weight room in the NFL. But I really like him, the frame, the speed, the catch radius, and his ability to separate as a tight end. He's a mismatch for linebackers.
I mean, look, we all saw the savvy route running. We all saw the hands, the vertical ability. He's a little inexperienced, has those injuries. But I like how you use willing blocker because he's got he's a work in progress. He's a willing blocker. He's like Mason. He's gonna adapt and get better at that role. And with more experience, he's gonna become a better overall tight end. But he is an excellent downfield receiving threat tight end.
How many good blocking tight ends are in the NFL? As long as you're not
this day and age,
as long as you're not Mike Gesicki level blocker, you're okay. Even though
why is my guy catching strays? I don't disagree.
Mike Gesicki. Hey, shout out to Mike Gesicki. Got another contract
extension. Scoring touchdowns.
As long as you're a willing blocker, it's hard to find a true.
It's a great word.
The Kittles, the Kelseys, those guys are hard to. The guys who block and
you can tell who's willing and who might be a little bit of that matador where it's like, all right, screw it.
Yeah, Octane said, I bet he's tougher than some. Yeah, well, Royal's tough. He's big.
No, he's tough. No, more experience, more education. Look, I'll tell you much. Dolphins have a hell of a tight end coach in John Embry. That's a project that's a hell of a match made in heaven.
Yeah, Julian Hill's a little bit much to fix. So
Julian Hill, I guess we all love undrafted. We all love small school kids. Julian Hill's a small school guy. Elijah Arroyo, a little bit more game tested, battle tested, albeit the inexperience, but still top program.
Next guy,
good project, another good willing blocker, but good receiver.
Yeah, here's the thing. He doesn't drop balls at all. I didn't see one drop. And I looked up and I was like, man, I didn't see one drop. And I looked up, he only had 2 drops on 171 targets. That's crazy. And he's productive, man. He broke record. I think he broke the FBS. He had 117 catches.
He's the yard machine.
1,500 yards.
He's a yards machine.
What's cool about him, too, is after the catch, he's almost like a running back. He's got real good vision. Something I noticed on film quickly with him. His ball skills, production, good technically in his route running. He plays he kind of runs weird. Like, I'm always weird with the body stuff, right?
The Deion Walker rule. The Deion Walker rule.
Was I right or not right?
You're right. I can't unsee it.
But watch him, Jason. He's like he runs very straight-legged. Like, he doesn't bend a lot. Like, he does, and he's not very bendy like in the lower half. It's weird. I don't know. You got it's hard to explain. You guys got to watch it. Octane says he's too small. He is small, but he's that Jonnu Smith role.
I was going to say, you were like with the yards after the catch.
He didn't run as fast as people would like, but here's the thing: the level of competition is a weakness at Bowling Green. But however, as I talked about, was it Jackson Dart who didn't do well against big competition? This guy stands out versus big competition, power conference and power schools. That's a good sign, because that means he can play with those guys and he elevates his game. I like him. I think he's getting overlooked a little bit because he didn't run well. He's got, you don't have that kind of production. He's a guy, again, could go in round 3, could go around even round 2. Like, he's a guy who could go around 2. It's so tough to determine because we don't know. This particular draft, the guy at 15 and the guy at 55 are very similar, right? There's not a huge drop off. So it's kind of what flavor you like. So it's kind of hard when we say this round. We'll give you an idea. Round 2 or 3. How about that?
Day 2 is very safe because while he's dropping in boards, he was up at like 50.
You can't ignore the production and the ability that shows up on tape. And
He's
catchability.
I think that he might not be in that candidacy of being a complete tight end. I don't think you're going to see him being a dominant inline blocking tight end at all. But stick to the receiving, stick to the
F tight end, movement tight end, move him around, H-back.
A young kind of Jonnu Smith potential in the making.
Yeah, he's a guy that maybe like fell to you and you want to address the position and you're surprised he's there, you take him. Like, again, sometimes you got to go with best player ability. He could be in that situation. Like what if he falls to pick 98? What if he falls in the 4th round, All right. Anything else on Fannin Jr.? Or we're good?
Covered it.
Terrence Ferguson. Another big slot receiver, kind of tight end. I watched him and I was a little bit underwhelmed. He's a good athlete. You see that he ran 4.63. Doesn't have an elite trait, but what I liked about him is his experience, both in the slot and the inline. It gives you that experience because he played like, I think, was it 40% of his snaps, 43% of his snaps in the slot, 40% in inline. So he's got experience there. He's got good size. I like him. As a blocker, he struggles with the play strength to maintain the block, but I think there's potential there. I think he could be another guy who can develop, into a well-rounded potential 3-down tight end somewhere in that 3rd, 4th round range, Jason.
Now, I hate saying it.
Oh, boy. Do we got a Dolphin comp coming?
I'm not throwing a stray, but he's a little like the Gesicki he's a better blocker.
Gesicki.
No. I'm not talking about blocking. I'm talking about red zone production. Going up and get it.
I can buy that.
He's nothing to do with blocking.
No.
I'm giving Gesicki what he was good at. He wasn't necessarily going to catch the ball and then run 15, 20 yards after the catch. If you're in the red zone, go up and throw it to him. We'll go up and get it. This guy's got a great vertical. He's got a good wingspan to go up and get that pass inside the 10 if you're near the goal line. But don't expect like Fanning or Mason Taylor plenty of yards after the catch. But as a two-way tight end, he's a two-way tight end. He can block.
He's well-rounded. He's well-rounded.
Exactly. He's a well-rounded tight end. But I had to get your stray equaled with speaking about a positive aspect of Gesicki's game and the red zone potential.
Look, I give it up for Mike, man. He got another extension, and I don't think he was utilized properly here, by the way. But
tall, could jump. That's it. That's what I'm saying.
He was a combine killer. He killed the combine.
Not just basketball tape, man.
Yeah, his dunks. But yeah, again, Ferguson, round 3, round 4.
There's 7 tight ends that are going to be gone, I think, in the top 115 picks.
Yeah, it all depends how the run of the draft goes. But again, good football player. I struggle to find what he really, really nothing stood out to me, but he's well-rounded. I think there's more there in the tank. But so Terrence Ferguson. Gunnar Helm. All right. I'll start with Gunnar. High floor prospect. For me, this guy is a high floor. First of all, he ran 4.84, right? But that he had, what was it, the ankle that turned? You saw the picture of the ankle.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't see great speed on film. Like he might have ran 4.75, 4.74. I didn't see a 4.58, 4.65 player on tape with Gunnar Helm, but he's a good move blocker. I think he's a guy, his blocking and grip strength in the run block. Another guy that impressed. He had some good film on blocking against Michigan where he threw guys around like Gunnar Helm. So I think he's another high floor, NFL ready, inline prospect with really soft hands and really, really excels in the middle. He works the middle of the field with crossing patterns. He's really good at that. And I think he's a guy, like the floor's high. Like if you need a tight end, he'd be a good complement to Jonnu Smith. You know, and again, that same range we were talking about with the other guys.
Because he's not he's more of a wide inline guy. And like, I like his ability to catch in traffic. He kind of gets his body like a basketball player positionally. Like you mentioned, these guys are basketball players. He can box out and make the catch well, you know, in traffic.
I think he could be one of the more complete tight ends in this draft too. You know, I'm not in love with Gunnar Helm, but like if you're pick 115, you want a tight end? Okay. You know, I don't know what our other pick is around. Is it 155 or something crazy?
There's a couple of picks pretty close together. 135 and 155.
But he's a high floor prospect. I like that about him. I think he could come in and contribute pretty quickly. Anything else on Gunnar Helm?
On a really good team, like in the back end of like the second, back end of like the third, 100%. I mean, again, there are these 6 or 7 guys that are going to be pretty much gone by round 4.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Jackson Hall is basically a 6th offensive lineman.
Smart kid. He had Yale pedigree.
Yale connection?
He went to Yale, and then he transferred on over.
I know, but I'm saying Yale McDaniel?
I mean, that's the appeal.
I can see it. Wait, Jason, I can see it now. McDaniel finally got his Yale guy. You remember when we took Hunter Long and they said Flores finally got his Boston College guy?
McDaniel. Forget about fantasy. No one's ever drafting Jackson Hall as on a fantasy football team. This is a blocker. This is a standing blocker.
He looks to punish you guys.
Right. And no, he was an all Ivy League player a couple of years ago, and then his last year of eligibility went over to Tech. But, you know, don't expect production from the passing game. Help protection in all aspects. So, like you said, he's a 6th offensive lineman, and if he's a day,
he's good, but he's reliable in short passing game. He's not bad. You know,
I'm not saying he's bad. But he's going to make his money.
What his money is
in blocking.
It's blocking, and so like I could see the Dolphins taking him around 5, round 4.
If they don't address a receiving tight end,
I can see it now. The Yale connection. I can see the Yale connection. We're talking
there
about that. McDaniel's talking about it at his post-draft press conference. The Yale connection. I can see it now. And he fits what they need. They need protection. You know, round 5.
This would put Julian Hill on notice.
Oh, Julian Hill, this guy replaces Julian Hill right away.
100%.
He's good. Yeah, he replaces and you know McDaniel probably has some connections to Yale, so that he probably put his sources in. And you know how many prospects were at Yale that you could.
It's like he'd be the kind of guy that would be very good, like inside the 5, that you would want to reward a touchdown at one point in the season because he finally got a touchdown because he's helping us in the blocking game so much. Some team is going to find.
What was that big tight end we used to have? Oh, this might have been a.
Well, how long are we talking about?
I can't remember.
You know,
could be 20 years. I don't know. I'll have to get the name. There was this big tight end we used to have. That was strictly a blocking tight end. I don't remember I think his number was 85. I don't remember, but
we could be in a ton of different years. Let's not even worry about it.
Yeah, but he's one of those things.
I'm not putting names out there from the 90s or 2000s.
Yeah. I forget that I'm live, but all right. If anybody remembers a blocking tight end that we had in the last 20 years, put it in the chat. Okay. Again, we're wrapping up here the tight ends. Come on over to YouTube, guys. If you're watching anywhere else, and hit that like and subscribe button. I know it's a pain in the butt. We keep asking, but it just takes a second. You guys come over from Twitter and come over here and watch it with us on YouTube. All right, that's Okay, I'm going to take him because I think he's getting overlooked. All right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mitchell Evans, I think, is one of the most underrated tight end prospects in this class. He's big. Like, he's 250. He's almost 260 naturally. He improved his 40 time to under 4.7. But he surprisingly has some shiftiness after the catch. It caught me off guard because he looks big. He's wide. He's really good at the contested catches. Another chain mover. Like 70%. We talked about, was it Mason Taylor, who had 68 of his percentage of his, catches for first downs. This guy had 70%. Right. And we're not talking about him in round 2. He's underrated. I think he's going to go. I think somebody's going to get a real gem here. He's a hand catcher. I like that. He's not an explosive athlete, right? He's another guy with injury history. But I'm a big fan of his, Jason. I think he's underrated. He's being slept on a little bit too much.
I mean, look, every year there's guys who might go above other prospects, and you wonder why. And, pedigree from Notre Dame, toughness, NFL size, like you say, willing blocker. I like that willing blocker, potential to be a well-rounded tight end. If some team sees value in
Fasano.
No, he's not a blocking tight end. He was a receiving tight end.
Oh, yeah. That's your neck of the woods there, Jason.
He's a good blocker, but he was like, what are you talking about? Like Hunter Goodwin, Jed Weaver?
Oh, Hunter Goodwin was the tight end I'm talking about.
Like, get out of here, really?
Yeah, I swear.
Right, because Fasano is not, I love Fasano
Hunter
as a
Goodwin
receiver.
what was Hunter Goodwin with the Dolphins?
We're talking like the 2000s here, man.
Yeah, I know, man. Hey, Hunter Goodwin. Shout out to Hunter Goodwin.
Wow. Yeah, I was 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anthony Fasano.
Same.
7 touchdowns one year, I think.
Yeah, Fasano. But again, back to Evans, man.
Good block. Could block. But wasn't
he's got 3. We talk about why inline stuff. Yeah. This is a guy who's got inline 3-down potential. Again, one of the 5 or 6 I think truly can be a receiving threat, but he's big. He's wide. I like him. I think teams are kind of, or maybe they're not. Maybe he'll get drafted higher than, a Fannin Jr. or surprisingly over a Ferguson. This guy gets drafted higher.
This is the situation where it's like we love to mock. We love to look at where, talking heads and fans and folks like us are putting it. But when a team says they need a tight end, this guy's gone, who's the next best overall tight end? A few of these guys, like a Fanning, could fall for a guy like him. Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Our situation is you're in round 4. You reassess your board.
Right.
You go home, you come back, and you thought Fanning or Mitchell Evans weren't going to be there, and your pick's tight end there, right? So, again, that's the kind of – those are the guys we're talking about here. But, like, this order – this is not the exact order we think they'll go in.
Oh, of course not.
This is the range, we think. And this could flip, he could go, surprise. Like, some team might like him more than Arroyo. You know what I mean? Like, it could happen,
Pick your poison. It's what you want in that type of player.
I think we'll wrap it up with our last tight end here. I'll let you start with him, Jason.
Watching his father in college – I cannot believe I'm saying this. That's just like depressing.
Dude, I feel so old because I grew up like you.
Mason Taylor, we're talking about Arondé Gadsden II, and I'm thinking about my senior year of college, and I'm just whatever. But this is an interesting player because, like his dad, he played wide receiver, was converted to tight end. He's a receiving threat, a big slot kind of receiver, as you say, running the top line. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, if he's a Dolphin pick day 3, just freaking turn him into a receiver at this point. You know what I mean? That would not shock me. So I love his ability to be a threat in the red zone. His wingspan is phenomenal. At 6'5", he can go up and get those, end zone passes. You don't have to rely on him so much after the catch necessarily, but he could work his way into some physicality as a blocker, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to his original wide receiver.
Yeah, he switched to wide receiver in 20 after the 20. Yeah. After the 22 season. I like him more going to the tight end. I want him to keep ascending in the weight. He's a big playability. You see the natural, if you at tight end, you'll see the straight line speed, you'll see the natural receiving skills, you'll see the he's got an unbelievable catch radius.
Unbelievable.
It's like 80 something. It's crazy. And long arms. I mean, the hands.
And any Dolphin fan of a certain age knows
his father.
The outstanding
hands.
catch. I mean, look, There was no Twitter back then. Yeah. He would have broken the internet on 4 or 5 different occasions with one-handed wingspan.
That one-handed catches. Big
against
hands,
the Jets, against the Raiders, against Jacksonville. So many catches.
Yeah. No, yeah. He's
a big play guy too. Oh my God. Talking about one of my favorite players from 20-some years ago.
4 100-yard games this year. 4 over 100 yards and 4. Big play ability. Again, undeveloped. You don't want him to come in block right now. It's not going to work out well.
He's not going to be in line.
You got to develop. But you got to develop. Maybe you could develop him. He's 243. Maybe he plays at 253. At 250. Like, I want him to go up and kind of move to that tight end more than going down, like you're saying, to play with you. But he'll be that big slot tight end, Jonnu Smith role anyways. Like, he's a guy round 5, round 6, I think is his range.
It's funny. I've been seeing him drafted in the 7th round, and I think he's going to be above that.
I think he'll go a little bit higher.
Day 3. He's a day 3 guy.
All right, so that wraps up our tight end group. I think, I think that's a position we're definitely going to be looking at. I think quarterback, middle rounds, tight end, middle rounds also. I think the one exception is maybe Mason Taylor if he's there at 48. Overall, good group. Jason, we're only a few weeks away. We have one more position group to get to, the running backs next week. Man, we've had over 120 prospects when we're done with this. Scouting reports one by one. Nobody else is doing it like us here with those things. And I hope you guys appreciate the work we're putting in. We got one more running back show. That'll be next Thursday. We got some other stuff planned. Of course, we'll be with you guys. We'll have a draft pre-show. We're still figuring out when we're going to do the draft recap. All that stuff is fluid. We're figuring all that. But I'll be with you on Monday with a guest. Not confirmed yet, but I'll be with you guys Monday. And Wednesday, we should have something. And Thursday, we're breaking down the running back group, which is loaded. And it's a position.
We're almost home. And Jordan, you've been putting in some
man.
Phenomenal work. You've been crushing it.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure to be a part of this.
Yeah, this has been great. And all right, so we'll wrap it up here. Next week, running back group. We're 2 weeks away, guys. Thanks everybody who's been in the chat. Octane, Elwood, Jake, Fins TV, Fin Sammy, Bearded Fanatic, Jonathan, Beach, B Show, everybody. Mia, Elwood. I mean, I can go through them all. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Thank you, guys. I always say you could be watching anywhere else. So you take 1 minute and watch the show. I appreciate it. And always, guys, make sure you come over here and hit that like and subscribe button for us. All right, guys. That should do it for today. We will see you guys next week. And we are out.